Well, thank you, everyone. Every time that I have the opportunity to speak publicly, I always acknowledge that we're on Indigenous territory. Here we're on Treaty 6 territory, and the Dene, the Cree, and the Blackfoot called this their home before we had the privilege of doing so. And the reason why I do that is because it's important to understand that we have a treaty obligation with Indigenous peoples here, so that along with our Indigenous brothers and sisters, we have access to the resources of this land, and that those resources are there for us to benefit from and for us to control, which is more important, and I'll get into that. I want to thank everyone for being here, especially the local constituency association, all the members that volunteer and give their time, all of you for being here as well. Specifically to Stephen, as he seems to be kind of the cornerstone, along with the other volunteers that organize here in Red Deer, so thank you for that. I want to let you know that my particular focus is community. And I believe that community is the essence of our existence. It's the base from which we all arise from. And this province happened to be, and the way that it functions, this province and the way that it functions, happened to be envisioned by a specific group of people. And that those who were at the turn of the century had power. And what I'm proposing is that we need to be empowered to provide a new vision for Alberta. Right? So each and every one of us has a part to play in building the vision. But before we roll up our sleeves and get to work, it's very important that we consult with Albertans as we move forward through this process. So we are the grassroots of our communities. We know the dangers and we know the opportunities. We have the pieces of the puzzle that contribute to that vision when we all work together. We're putting it together. So for example, as Tommy Douglas used to say and focus on the commonwealth, that is the vision that we are called to. And as citizens, what we hold in common and how we can continue to build this province. And together we can make our communities a better place to live. The sad reality is that we have not been consulted, and the current PC government has a poor track record when it comes to accountability, transparency, the administration of our healthcare. They're failing to protect the environment, underfunding of legal aid, and perhaps worst of all, ladies and gentlemen, that there are children dying in care. And the list goes on, as you know. So the current PC government has really abused the trust of Albertans. And the electorate now is hungry for an alternative. And this is where we need to be. We need to focus. And it's for that reason that I'm running for the leadership of the Alberta NDP. It's a new way of doing politics, where we organize from the ground up, where each and every Albertan has an opportunity to contribute to the plan that I was talking about, where marginalized and vulnerable populations aren't the subject of the current issues, but are active participants in making Alberta stronger. I'm speaking specifically about Indigenous people, as I mentioned in my opening, but also new Canadians that are coming to our communities and establishing themselves here. I think that decolonizing our political, economic, and social structures is the elephant in the room that we need to start addressing so that we can all move forward collectively as many communities in Alberta.
And we're coming to time.
So an Alberta NDP with my leadership would mean more representation by all Albertans in the political process, more representation of Indigenous people in the legislature, and more newcomers to Canada engaging in the political process. Thank you very much.
It's really a pleasure to be here tonight with all of you, and of course with Dave and Rod. We've been traveling the road together. I often say that I feel like I'm in a band. I'm starting to get a sense of what that's like, and except that I'm not a good singer. But other than that, so it's a pleasure though to be here, to be able to have these kinds of conversations with you tonight, and it's an exciting time for us to have those conversations, because I truly believe that Alberta is on the verge of unprecedented political change. People are truly looking for change, and I believe that they are looking for a modern, progressive change. And what are some of the reasons that they are? What are some of the features of that? Well, at its essence, the fact of the matter is that while we are one of the most wealthy jurisdictions in the world, we happen to also be one of the most unequal jurisdictions in the world, and we happen to have a level of inequality which is growing at a pace that is unprecedented across the country. And that, to me, is a sign of failed governance. It's a sign of old values, of tired government that's just lost the will to take the action that is necessary to ensure that we all benefit from the great prosperity that we have here in Alberta. Whether we're talking about classrooms which are overflowing, or schools which we've been waiting for years and years and years to see built. Whether we're talking about hospital wait times and limitations of healthcare based on arbitrary budgetary restrictions, whether we're talking about the intentional efforts on the part of this PC government to reduce the number of long-term care beds in order to download seniors' healthcare to seniors and their family, or whether we're talking about the failure of this government to respond to years and years of requests to get a post-secondary and a full university here in Red Deer. All of those things and many others are all an indication of a government that's lost interest in governance, and that needs to change. Now, the Wild Rose and the Conservatives don't represent the values of this growing modern province that we have here in Alberta. Our province is the youngest in the country. It's the most diverse, or almost the most diverse in the country, and it will be very soon. And we have nothing but optimism and opportunities for the future. But we also have a set of values that go with it that have moved far beyond what either of the two old line Conservative parties are willing to offer us. We need change. We need real change. The Wild Rose isn't change. A new Conservative leader isn't change. A Wild Rose government with the same rigid beliefs isn't change. Albertans deserve better than choice between the arrogance of Conservatives on one hand and the extremism of Wild Rosers on the other. They want progressive government. They tried to vote for it in the last election. They didn't get it, and now they're looking somewhere else. And I believe that they're looking to the NDP. And that's one of the reasons why I chose to run, because I believe we have this opportunity, and I think that I have the leadership skills, the experience, and the record of success to build a modern, progressive movement which is capable of taking on the Conservatives and taking on the Wild Rose and winning in places here like in Red Deer. I want to form a practical, hard-working government that's guided by strong progressive values, that's committed to promoting equality and equity, and that is committed ultimately to serving the best interests of all citizens. That's what I believe Albertans are looking for. That's what I believe the NDP can deliver, and that's why I want to be leader. Thank you very much for coming today.
Very much, and it's always difficult to bat after these two fine speakers, but certainly we have had a very successful tour so far around the province. At least 7 or 8 times we've done this, and it always is very refreshing and helps to sharpen our ideas too, and to get the things that people want most in each of the regions of our province so that we can incorporate those into our policy and bring them forward inside and outside the legislature too. And I noticed that the moderator was looking for specific numbers, and so I can give him one right now. On the way down, I would say $320. Not just a little rock hit my windshield, but one this big. Almost shook us. Well, it woke us up, that's for sure. And so I'm going to be replacing that tomorrow. And that's one.
Welcome to the construction company.
Yeah, it was a big truck for sure. It's a remarkable opportunity for us that we have, as Rachel and Rod had put forward. We're seeing a dynamic change in the way our province is being run, and I think a dynamic change in the way that if we can profile our population too. There's more than 4 million people here now, not just from right across the country, but from all over the world. And we're looking for security. We're looking for a place to raise our families and to grow old and retire. And all of those things, as an enticement, are here in the province of Alberta. What we're finding is that the Alberta New Democrats, our role is very, very important to make sure that those things happen for people when they need them for themselves and their families. Because you get drawn into the salaries and the jobs here, but then suddenly the channel changes when you actually start to raise a family or look after your senior members of your family here in this province. It's very expensive here in the province of Alberta. And the security that's afforded by the things that we own together is not on such stable ground as that it used to be in the past. As a healthcare advocate, I know that our public health system is not just a cornerstone of health and welfare and security for our families, but it's also, I think, a measure of who we are as a society. It's part of the fabric of our community. And you know that I, as the executive director of Friends of Medicare, really fought for those things, and now, as the health critic in the legislature, I carry on. I was just here a week ago, and I drove within the bounds of the speed limit, but certainly very quickly from Medicine Hat when I heard the magnificent news that the Michener was staying open here in the city of Red Deer. It was a remarkable moment, and I just want to thank the city of Red Deer and the AUPE and the families that all came together and helped us to push back against this very, very poor decision. It's not like Jim Prentice made that choice out of the goodness of his heart. It's because we forced his hand to do so. And that's the power of mobilization, that's the power of democracy, and that's the kind of power that we like to work with as Alberta New Democrats to ensure that we have the things that we need for ourselves and for our families and for the people that are most vulnerable here in the province of Alberta. As well, so many things all seem to happen at once. I was traveling around the province, and Rachel and I were fighting very hard in the legislature for pension reform. And so, again, not through the gladness of their heart or to know that they were doing the right thing, but the pension bills were left on the order table when they prorogued the Parliament for the new session here in the fall. Again, a very dynamic, very important victory that can only happen through a combination of mobilization of the public and having a strong progressive political party in the legislature to ensure that those things move forward. And so we're at a very important crossroads, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, but it's something that we can grab on and take hope from. Instead of defending those public things that we own together, like our education and healthcare, let's start pushing back. Let's make them stronger. Let's make sure that people, if they have the wits about them and they work hard, that they can get that post-secondary education that they need and not break the bank to do so. Let's make sure that our public health care is there when you need it, but let's expand it to ensure that pharmacy is there when we need it too, and some forms of dental care, and some forms of physiotherapy, and other things that were clawed back from us over the last 20 years by this heartless PC government. We know that we can do better, and certainly with people like this, and myself as your leader, I know that we can really make a difference in this province and make something that we can all be proud of. Thank you very much.